The studio lights of Lorraine glowed warmly, casting a soft amber sheen across the familiar pastel set. The audience murmured with polite excitement as the cameras panned across smiling faces, cue cards rustling just out of sight. It was supposed to be another calm, dignified morning, tea, gentle laughter, and thoughtful conversation. After all, today's guest was Dame Judi Dench. A national treasure. A living legend. An actress whose voice alone carried decades of British cinema, theatre, and royal honors. Social media had been buzzing since dawn. Viewers expected wisdom, wit, maybe a charming anecdote about Shakespeare or James Bond. What no one expected was chaos. Lorraine Kelly sat gracefully on her couch, legs crossed, cue cards neatly stacked on her lap. She wore her practiced smile, the one that had soothed millions of viewers over the years. "Now," Lorraine said warmly, turning toward her guest, "it's such an honor to have you here, Dame Judi." "Truly." Judi Dench inclined her head slightly. She wore a charcoal blazer, understated jewelry, and that unmistakable expression, sharp eyes softened by age, but still piercing, still alert. "Thank you, Lorraine," Judi replied. Her tone was polite, controlled, but something flickered beneath it. The interview began smoothly. They spoke about theater returning after difficult years, about storytelling, about the responsibility of art. Judi was thoughtful, deliberate, and the audience hung on every word. Then Lorraine glanced down at her cue cards. "And Judi," she said carefully, "there's been a bit of conversation recently about, well, actors speaking out on social issues. Some people feel it's, perhaps, time for younger voices to lead those discussions." A subtle pause. Judi's smile faded, not dramatically, but unmistakably. "Younger voices," Judi echoed. Lorraine chuckled lightly, sensing tension. "Well, you know what people say online. That some opinions can feel, how do I put it, out of step." The studio air shifted. Judi leaned back, her hands folding slowly in her lap. "I find it fascinating," she said, voice calm but firm, "how experience is suddenly framed as a liability." Lorraine blinked. "That's not what I meant at all." "But it is what you implied," Judi replied, eyes locked on Lorraine now. The audience fell silent. Lorraine tried to redirect. "Of course, experience matters, but platforms like this." "Platforms like this," Judi interrupted gently, "often decide who gets to speak and who is politely nudged into silence." A producer behind the camera stiffened. Lorraine's smile tightened. "I think we're getting a bit serious for a morning show." Judi raised an eyebrow. "Seriousness doesn't vanish because it's morning." A ripple of uneasy laughter moved through the audience. Lorraine shifted in her seat. "Judi, I think what people struggle with sometimes is when public figures comment on issues they may not fully understand anymore." The words landed heavier than intended. Judi leaned forward. "Do you truly believe," she asked quietly, "that age diminishes understanding?" Lorraine hesitated. Cameras zoomed in. "I think," Lorraine said cautiously, "that times change." "They always have," Judi replied. "And yet, here we are, still discussing fairness, still discussing voice, still discussing who gets heard." Lorraine glanced toward the producer's desk, then back to Judi. "We don't want to upset viewers." Judi's eyes flashed. "Then stop underestimating them." A collective inhale swept the studio. Lorraine laughed nervously. "I'm not sure that's fair." Judi straightened. "What isn't fair is inviting someone on this program and expecting them to shrink themselves for comfort." The warmth had drained from the room. "Judi," Lorraine said, tone firmer now, "this isn't a debate show." "Then, don't ask loaded questions," Judi replied. The producer's voice crackled faintly in Lorraine's earpiece. "Move on. Move on now." Lorraine attempted a smile. "Perhaps we should talk about your upcoming project." Judi shook her head slowly. "No. I think this is precisely the conversation worth having." The audience sat frozen. Lorraine's patience snapped, just slightly. "With respect, this is my show." "And with respect," Judi said, standing up, "that doesn't give you the right to patronize your guests." Gasps echoed. Lorraine stood as well, startled. "Judi, please." "No," Judi said, her voice steady but unmistakably furious. "I have spent my life being told when to speak and when to be quiet. I will not do it now for the sake of a pleasant segment." The cameras kept rolling. A stage manager hurried toward them, whispering urgently. Lorraine lowered her voice. "We're live." "So am I," Judi replied. For a moment, the two women stared at each other, Two icons from different paths of British television, locked in a standoff no one could have scripted. Finally, Lorraine gestured off camera. Perhaps we should take a break. Judi picked up her coat. If that's your way of saying I'm no longer welcome, she said coolly, then say it plainly. Lorraine hesitated. The silence answered for her. Judi nodded once. Very well. She walked off the set, heels echoing against the studio floor. The audience sat stunned as the cameras awkwardly cut to Lorraine, who stood motionless, her expression unreadable. And, we'll be right back, Lorraine said softly. The screen faded to commercials. But outside the studio, the story was only just beginning. The moment Judi Dench disappeared behind the black curtain, the studio erupted into chaos. Cut to ads, now. A producer barked, slamming a clipboard onto the desk. The red on-air light flickered off, but the tension didn't. Lorraine Kelly exhaled sharply and removed her earpiece, her hand trembling just slightly. She stared at the empty couch where Judi had been sitting moments ago, as if half expecting her to return. That was not meant to happen, Lorraine muttered. Behind the scenes, Judi stood near the corridor that smelled faintly of makeup powder and hot cables. A young assistant hovered nervously nearby. Dame Judi, are you all right? The girl asked. Judi smiled, tight, controlled. I'm perfectly fine, my dear. Though I suspect someone else may not be. A senior producer, Mark Ellison, stormed toward her, face flushed. What on earth was that? He snapped. You blindsided us. This is a morning program, not Parliament. Judi turned slowly to face him. No, she said calmly. It's a public platform. There is a difference. You accused the host of patronizing you, live on air. I responded to a question designed to belittle, Judi replied. If that makes people uncomfortable, perhaps they should examine why. Mark scoffed. You can't just hijack a show. And you can't invite a woman with opinions and expect silence, Judi shot back. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Mark lowered his voice. You've put us in an impossible position. Judi picked up her coat. No, I simply refused to be placed in one. Across the studio, Lorraine sat with her head in her hands while makeup artists pretended not to listen. She humiliated me, Lorraine said quietly. On my own show. Another producer hesitated. You did push her a bit, Lorraine. Lorraine looked up sharply. So now it's my fault. No, but the question was pointed. Lorraine laughed bitterly. Of course it was pointed. That's television. The show returned from the break with a noticeably lighter segment, recipes, smiling guests, forced laughter. But the atmosphere never recovered. Within minutes, Twitter ignited. Did anyone else just see that Judi Dench? Walk off Lorraine. That was not scripted. Team Judi. Absolute legend. Lorraine looked shaken. By midday, clips were everywhere, edited, slowed down, dissected. Headlines screamed, shock walkout, and TV icon clashes live on air. Judi sat in the back of a car, phone buzzing relentlessly beside her. Her longtime agent, Simon, finally called. You've broken the internet, he said. I suspected as much, Judi replied dryly. Half the country's applauding you. The other half thinks you were rude. Judi gazed out the window. That usually means you've said something honest. At ITV headquarters, emergency meetings were called. Executives debated damage control. We can't afford to alienate Lorraine, one said. And we can't afford to look ageist either, another countered. Meanwhile, Lorraine watched the replay alone in her dressing room. She flinched at the moment Judi stood up. I didn't mean it that way, she whispered. But television didn't care about intention, only perception. That evening, Judi released a short statement through her publicist. I believe respectful disagreement is not disruption. If we silence voices for comfort, we lose something far more valuable than calm television. The response was immediate. Actors, writers, and even younger performers spoke out in support. One viral post read, if Judi Dench isn't allowed to speak freely, who is? Lorraine, under pressure, addressed the incident the next morning. I regret how things unfolded, she said on air. That was never my intention. But notably, she didn't apologize directly. Judi noticed. Days later, the two women were offered a chance to speak privately. A quiet room. No cameras. Lorraine arrived first, visibly tense. Judi entered moments later, composed as ever. I never wanted this to become a spectacle, Lorraine said. Yet spectacles are made when conversations are avoided, Judi replied. They sat in silence. Finally, Lorraine sighed. Maybe I underestimated you. Judi smiled gently. Or maybe you underestimated your audience. Lorraine looked down. The meeting ended without resolution, but with understanding. The press would argue for weeks about who was right. But one thing was undeniable. That morning's show changed something. Viewers began questioning how voices were framed. Who was allowed authority? Who was politely dismissed? In Judi Dench, she returned to her work, unbothered. Because some people don't need the final word. They already have history on their side.